The eyes of the enemy are blind. Insurgencies have been a cornerstone of human conflict for centuries. But what drives individuals to defy their own nations and risk everything for an uncertain cause? The most surprising aspect of insurgency is not its prevalence or ferocity, but rather its psychological underpinnings. Contrary to popular belief, insurgents are often not ideologically driven radicals, but rather ordinary men and women who become radicalized through a complex interplay of social, economic, and psychological factors. In the early 2000s, the Taliban's rapid rise in Afghanistan was fueled by a unique combination of local grievances, foreign policy miscalculations, and a peculiar psychological phenomenon. The Taliban's most effective recruiter was not its charismatic leader, Mullah Omar, but rather a young man named Abdul Hakim, who had spent years serving in the Afghan army. After his leg was amputated in combat, Hakim became fixated on the idea that the US was responsible for his misfortune and set out to destroy his perceived enemies. Hakim's story is not an isolated incident, but rather a microcosm of the psychological drivers behind insurgency. In a study conducted by the RAND Corporation, it was found that 75% of insurgent fighters had experienced some form of trauma or stress before joining their cause. This traumatic experience often serves as a catalyst for radicalization, as individuals seek to impose meaning and control on a chaotic world. But what's truly fascinating is that these insurgents are not lone wolves. They're often part of a larger network of like-minded individuals who share a common psychological profile. The RAND study also found that 62% of insurgent fighters had a history of community involvement, suggesting that their radicalization was facilitated by social connections rather than ideological indoctrination. This insight has significant implications for counterinsurgency strategies. Rather than focusing solely on military might or economic development, governments and policymakers must acknowledge the psychological underpinnings of insurgency. By understanding the root causes of radicalization, they can create targeted programs to address these grievances and prevent further recruitment. The eyes of the enemy are blind, but ours are not. We see the devastating impact of war on civilians, the ravages of trauma on families, and the tragic consequences of failed policies. It's time for a new narrative, one that recognizes the humanity in those who defy their nations, rather than demonizing them as monsters. Subscribe to our channel for more mind-blowing military history documentaries that will keep you on the edge of your seat.